Hello and welcome to this ORTEC webinar. And did you know that good schedules can help prevent stress, sick leave and people quitting their jobs? My name is Narada Bouwland and today I'm talking to Goos Kant of ORTEC. Nice to have you here today, Goos.
Thank you, Narada.
How are you?
Fine.
Doing fine?
Yeah.
Great. Today you are going to tell us how schedules can impact the employee happiness, and you will also share some practical solutions with us. But maybe let's first start off with a little bit about your background. What's your role within the organization of ORTEC?
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, ORTEC is a market leader in workforce scheduling applications.
Mm-hmm.
So we have over 300 customers internationally in Europe, but also down under in Australia, in US, where we are supporting companies with creating the right schedules for workforce and also all the steps around this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the role as industry leader to see the market trends and to translate that towards product management.
Mm-hmm.
And next to that, I'm also part-time full professor in optimization. So to learn about the latest techniques and to educate new students.
Yeah. All right. So you have a lecture for us today, or
well,
what level will it be?
Well, in general, that's also one of my things that I really like to educate in general, but also I really like to learn about what's going on and see how we can make that as practical as possible in the applications.
Yeah. And then in both jobs, you always have the mathematical, statistical approach.
Exactly. Yeah. So that will also be my message today, that of course there's a huge issue in personal employee satisfaction, a shortage of labor, but there are also a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
So to see how you can improve that in a way by applying math and AI.
Yeah, because your main message, when I spoke to you before, you said there's a great potential for employee happiness through a more optimized scheduling. So I'm very keen to hear more about that from you. I understood that you previously polled some people, some organizations about the labor market. Can you tell me a little bit about your conclusions from that?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's on the next slide, and I will share that. That in one of the previous webinars around this topic of personal shortage, we asked the participants about what do you think companies should do. Mm-hmm. And only a small percentage, I think 2% of that, said about we should improve the labor conditions. So increase salaries and all these kind of things. So that's really only a small option, a small percentage. Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies still see opportunities in creating more efficiency. So there's still some slack in the schedule where improvements can be made, and that's what I want to stress later. Yeah. And also, there are ways to improve you as employer in branding and communicating and towards your employees, and similar to involve employees. So improve employee engagement.
Yeah.
So that will also help not only for satisfaction, but also reduce illness or a churn that they go to other companies.
Yeah. All right, great. And I understand that today you will help us approach this problem, right? So how can we...
Exactly, because this is, the first step, but the next step is, of course, how.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
So how can we improve in that area?
Mm-hmm.
And our message is that we provide technology, we provide solutions, which is an enabler to make this happen.
Yeah, great.
So that's in general what we see. So, and that's also what I'm trying to explain at conferences, at customers, at events like this and others. So there's really, really a nice potential to improve.
Yeah, all right. So if I am an organization and I recognize myself in the poll you just told us. So I see potential for, a better organization and a happier workforce through better planning. How can I approach that? Can you help me with that?
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And we do that, and that's on the next slide, about our vision on workforce scheduling.
Yeah, all right.
Our vision is in a kind of, say, plan, do, check, act.
Mhm.
So first you have to predict the amount of work you need to do, whatever, next week, next month.
Yeah.
From that prediction, you have to translate that exactly in the amount of people you need at every moment, every location, and the right skills.
Yeah.
Given that input, you have to create a schedule. You can do that, say, by a team lead or a central planner, but you can also involve people by what we call self-scheduling. So there are some trade-offs, and I can explain later. And then you have the execution. From that, you have the payroll, and you have all the data from which you can learn. And nowadays, with all the AI, there's machine learning to learn from data to see how can we improve.
Yeah.
Improve in, for example, the policy of in all kind of norm times, and also to see how many people do we need at every moment.
Yeah.
So that's where our software is supporting.
Yeah, and now let's say the last 2 or 3 years, AI is mainstream. What's your thought about that from an ORTEC perspective? Is it like you are already busy with that, or did it actually improve also your own software?
Yeah. So
lately,
yeah. So when I did my study already at the university 40 years ago, I already was learning AI.
Yeah.
And a part of AI is optimization, and everything what ORTEC stands for has to do with optimization.
Yeah.
So from that, AI is in our DNA from the start in 1981. But over particularly the last years, AI is really becoming much stronger, and also generative AI. So the ChatGPT and others, we are involving now in our software.
Yeah.
So really there it's making a boost.
Yeah. All right.
And of course, everybody claims to have AI.
Yeah.
But since I'm also a professor in that area, I really understand this is AI and this is garbage. And what we are doing is real AI. And we also have internships, projects, etc. So we have a very close collaboration with academia.
Yeah. Yeah. Clear. Another question. The first step in this process that you just presented is the prediction stage. Is that already where organizations can already win something? Is it quite often that you meet organizations that don't even do that step, right?
No, indeed. So that is the big step already is at the start to predict the exact amount of workers.
Yeah.
In the next slide, I have an example to explain this. The example is from healthcare, but we do it in all branches, that you really have to think about how many people do I need. For that, you need, of course, a forecast. A forecast can be external input from sales, the production orders or warehouse orders, or the amount of cleaning or security or facility, which is an input. And from that, you translate it in the amount of workers or shifts.
Yeah.
If you have that prediction, here you see that in this example is from healthcare, they see on Thursday, Friday, there might be an issue in the amount of beds which I open compared to what is expected. But during the weekend, I will be fine. Maybe I have too much.
Yeah.
So from the forecast, you can typically predict what is coming and compared to what you have available from work. So from this example, you can see it's better to open a few more beds on Thursday, Friday. So that's the blue line, to have that a little bit higher on Thursday, Friday. And that opening beds, of course, translates to amount of workers, amount of people. And during the weekend, it might be a little lower.
Yeah.
And that's not costing any money.
Yeah.
Because if you have not enough people, the employees feel stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a negative feeling. If you have, say, maybe 1 or 2 persons too much, you're overstaffed, that does not give such a good feeling that it compensates for the rest.
Yeah.
So at the end, the plus is, not compensating the minus.
Yeah. You only remember your worst day of the week,
exactly.
not the best. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very good to predict how many people do I need.
Yeah.
And from the peaks, really have the right amount of staffing.
Yeah.
If your staffing conditions, the amount of workers we need is flat, while you know there are some peaks during the day, during the week, during the month, during the season, you know already, something is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. Our television just turned off. So if you could pass me the remote, I can turn it back on. Yeah. And in the meanwhile, I can imagine that, creating this insight is already helpful for an organization because you can see what the potential, where your capacity doesn't match, the staff that you have.
Yeah, that's what we typically see in warehousing and others, that really translating the upcoming forecast towards the right staffing, the right amount of employees is already a big gain where companies really can make the first step.
Yeah, all right. So that's also for, let's say, organizations that don't have really a complex planning.
Yeah.
Just having that insight is already helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And some companies say, well, we don't know what's coming up. Yeah. Well, of course, you can learn a lot from the past.
Yeah, you always know something.
From historical data, you can see already, is there a trend? What is... and if there is a peak, you can maybe find out what was the root cause of this peak.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a kind of special action, a promotion, other things, and that's why you needed more people in that area.
Yeah.
So typically for example, cleaning or catering, if there is a special event, you need more people. So that's where you can really learn from the data.
Okay, good. Let's move on. So after having to predict this, do we have any additional material about this prediction stage?
Exactly. So
you have an example, right? Yeah.
So after the prediction stage, there's the area of creating the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So that means 1 or 2 months ahead about who is going to work and who not. So in that workforce scheduling process, typically that was done manually over the years, but our software can provide schedules which are much better than done manually.
Okay.
In the slide, I give an example. Here you see a schedule. So that's with all these colors.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking like a kind of Tetris.
Yeah.
And it is a kind of Tetris. You have to create a schedule. Horizontally, you see the people. On the columns, you see the days of the week.
Yeah.
Such that you fulfill all the demand, so the right amount of people at the right time, and you have to satisfy all the labor rules. And this is only a small example with only 10 people in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose you have 50 people in a month, then it becomes quite complex.
Yeah.
And after 20 minutes, I was able to create a schedule where all shifts are fulfilled, all people are in line with their contract. So great news. Except that not all wishes are respected.
Okay.
And this is typically what happens if you create it manually. Not all wishes, but at least everything is covered, everything is done, contract, so I'm done.
Yeah.
While on the bottom, you see the same example used by an optimizer. Press on a button, and within 30 seconds, the optimizer was able to make also a schedule satisfying all rules, but also respecting all wishes.
All right.
So you see that a qualitative better schedule was created in, a portion of the time.
Yeah. All right. So that's a really concrete point where we have increased worker satisfaction by being able to move within the constraints of your capacity, but also within their wishes.
Exactly.
That sounds
exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the wishes are becoming, of course, more and more important because, you and I, everybody is more demanding at this moment. And in particular, of course, the youngest generation, they want to have much more influence. You can also think for the manual planner, I know the rules. I know what my people want. The computer never knows this.
Yeah.
But you know that for those who are quite extrovert, are working a long time with the company, so you have a close relationship, you know what he wants. But typically for those who are less extrovert and are maybe new to the company, it is, questionable. Do you know what they really want?
Yeah.
And maybe they don't complain, they just leave after a couple of years.
Yeah.
So you better ask.
Yeah, so it's an additional way to interact with your staff if they can ask through a system what their wishes are, or they can
accept. Rather than asking, because after a few months you forget. You support this by an app where everybody can fill in their wishes, etc., in a very low-level way, so very easy way, and that it is everything administrated and that you know it and that you have an equal way of dealing with the employees. And that's the second maybe important thing. It also gives a fair schedule. A planner might be biased. And this is also a way to protect the person. So maybe he got complaints. Why did you give this shift to that person instead of to me, or the other way around? And now he is protected. The optimizer creates a fair schedule.
Great. And is there some sort of hierarchy in all those constraints for the planning? So you mentioned rules and regulations, people's contracts, people's wishes.
What we see now in a lot of organizations, that, first of all, when we implement our software and we want to use to create better schedules, then the first question, and then we do that with the main stakeholders, what is a good schedule? What do we mean by a good schedule? Because then we can also define what is a better schedule. And by a workshop, we typically define together what is the priorities in things. And typically, say the highest priority is around that it is correct. So it should respect the labor rules and conditions.
Compliance is mostly the most important.
Exactly. So all the compliance rules, the contracts, all these kind of things. Then we have some rules around, we call it ergonomics, so that it is about the quality of the schedule. You can think about a healthy schedule or an equal division of all the shifts nobody likes, or an equal division of the shifts which everybody likes. So that kind of things. And then the lowest priorities are the financial ones. So even for companies who are really, really focused on margin, efficiency, etc., there we see that employee satisfaction, employee engagement is much more important than the financial elements. And the good news is, if we start with the optimization, etc., in the example, it not only creates a schedule, which of course fulfills all the rules of compliance and etc., but it also at the same time improves both employee satisfaction and efficiency. So a better schedule in both, say, quality and quantity.
So that's the win-win that you actually want with your schedule, I guess. All right. Thank you for explaining that. Are you ready for the next step?
Exactly, because I explained that the youngest generation wants to be more and more involved. And in various industries, typically like in health, self-scheduling is becoming more and more popular. Let me explain what self-scheduling is. That is that in 3 rounds, sometimes might be 4 or 1A and 1B, etc., you create a schedule together. In the first round, employees can individually create their own schedule without being bothered by what the others do.
Yeah.
In the second round, you see the complete picture. And then you see, here it is overstaffed or understaffed. And then you're challenged to change your roster in such a way to solve the issues of over and understaffing. And if there is an issue left, then in round 3, a central planner dispatcher solves the remaining issues.
Aha, okay.
So this is a way to involve employees.
Yeah.
And by the way, not only in health, because we also have examples in the facility services, in retail, where this is becoming more and more the normal way of working.
Okay.
And AI can help to, first of all, to support you with creating your own roster, or to see where should I exchange in round 2. And in particular, it can support in round 3 to solve the remaining issues for the central planner by a minimum number of changes.
Yeah.
So that's where we are working on to improve the optimizer in round 3.
Yeah.
Because at the right-hand side, I give an example that in current practice, this is from an organization we are working with, that after round 2, only 10% is changed. So 1 out of your 10 shifts you change in round 2 to solve issues, which is okay. But then, in order to solve all the issues, here 22% additionally is changed in round 3.
Okay.
So, and then still some changes afterwards or during realization.
Yeah.
So now you see that in this example, about 40% of everything you did in round 1 is changed.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is, of course, far too much, and that gives a negative element.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to do with the optimizer is how can we reduce that percentage? In particular, the percentage of 22% in round 3.
Yeah.
If we can reduce that, then we can make a much better success of self-scheduling.
All right. So this is more, let's say, a traditional trajectory of self-planning.
Yeah.
Without an optimizer or without AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the issue is you create an expectation up front because a worker says, I only want to work the mornings. But then after all those changes, probably 40% of the time he has to work in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and the word self-scheduling is also misleading.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like, you do it by yourself. Well, it's not the case.
Yeah.
You have to do it as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have a small team, then in round 2, you can solve it. I know you. Well, you work one Friday, I work the other Friday. Fine.
Yeah.
If you have a large team, then it's becoming more anonymous.
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't care. I really want to have my free evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you see that for larger teams, it's becoming
increasingly complex. Yeah.
Increasingly complex.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how can what kind of magic wand do you have to decrease the amount of changes?
Exactly. So that's where we are working with the optimizer. Want to do pilots, etc., to reduce that 22% to make self-scheduling more attractive.
Okay.
So that's where in the continuous improvement loop, in the plan, do, check, act, that after predict, prepare, so calculate the right staffing at each morning, that during the planning phase, that either whether you use central planning or planners, or you have self-scheduling, that you use AI to create better schedules.
Yeah. All right.
And that's coming to my next point, that during the execution, you can also use AI to support the employees in various ways. And that's what we are doing with what we call, or what's called generative AI.
Okay, yeah.
So generative AI like ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. That are ways to, with a prompt, to ask all kind of questions. And similarly, in our employee self-service app, we are adding now, as we speak, say ChatGPT, in order to have a much more easy way of working for the employee.
Yeah.
And I give an example in the next slide around this. Is suppose that your colleague or whatever friend asks, "Oh, do you like to join me for a concert on Whit Monday?"
Yeah.
So the second day of Pentecost, for a concert.
Yeah.
Let me think. Whit Monday, which day is that? Did I need to work? Can I change, etc. So that's all kind of questions. In the past, you have to type in all kind of things, and we are now supporting the user in a very friendly way that you can ask or type in, "Oh, do I need to work on Whit Monday?" And then you directly get an answer. In this example, yes. You have an evening shift on June 9. That's Whit Monday this year. But do I still have leave hours left in order to have my free day
off?
So that's indeed the next question which you ask. And then in this example, you have 96 hours left. Oh, okay. Can you make me a leave request? Well, please confirm, and then it's done. And then that gives an open shift for the planner to reschedule.
Yeah.
You can also think of, in the same way, with who can I exchange my shift? And then, of course, you get the list of possible candidates, which are, of course, satisfying, respecting all the rules.
So have a similar competence.
Exactly.
If I'm a senior nurse and I'm the shift nurse on that Monday.
Exactly.
Then you need another shift leading
Exactly.
nurse.
So it should have the right qualifications. It should fit in their contract, so that you have only, say, the legal options to exchange with.
Yeah. All right. And that's again an opportunity to increase the employee experience for your organization.
Exactly.
Especially for a younger generation that likes to work like that, I guess.
Exactly. They are having things like what they like in shift bidding or shift picking, so that if an additional shift becomes available, sometimes they say, "Oh, I like to work at least, say, X days a week, but I'm open to work more, but then on my wishes, on my demand."
Because in this example, the person that wanted to go to the festival is probably also inclined to take the graveyard shift in the hospital the night after.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the younger generation want to be more in control when they want to work.
Yeah. All right.
While the more, say, the older generations are more in that they like to have more structure, that they know,
predictability.
Exactly. So I know already that on September 9, I need to work. So then I can organize my other activities around that.
Yeah. For your care for your children, your parents, things like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Planned holidays.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that in this way, with the technology, whether it is self-scheduling or cyclic rosters or a mix or dynamic rosters, that you can support that with the same technology.
Yeah.
And that you can create a policy which supports the different generations.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Do you perhaps have an example of this?
Yeah. So the example which I like to discuss is around Amsterdam Airport Retail.
Yeah. Okay.
Airport's called Schiphol in the Netherlands, and there all the shops there, they are centrally organized and planned and staffed, and they really had issues with illness and leave and other things. And thanks to the technology, that really improved.
Okay.
And the first step was to really think about how many people do I need? Because from historical figures, you can get input from flight schedules, etc.
Yeah.
When is it busy? When is it less busy? So, and that you really adjust your need of workers over the day, over the week, etc.
Yeah.
Secondly, by applying the optimizer, as explained, they could create much better schedules.
Yeah. Okay.
And thirdly, they could respect much more wishes.
Okay.
So from that, in this example, the sickness absence reduced by more than half.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite high, by the way. So that was reduced more than half by having transparency on availability, on possibility to exchange rosters, shifts, and using a good optimizer to create the best schedule. So that way, really sickness was reduced. Similarly, overtime reduced by really computing the peaks and that you have the right staffing at the peaks.
Mm-hmm.
And also by that, also customer satisfaction increased.
Yeah.
So it's an example of improving both the employee satisfaction engagement, but also improving efficiency as organization and service towards the end customer.
Yeah. And that overtime, that's the argument that will help you sell an implementation for this with the CFO.
Exactly. The CFO needs to have a business case, of course.
Here it is.
Here it is. Yeah. Because I explained, well, the priorities in what's a good schedule. Mm-hmm. But luckily, also there's a financial benefit, which is, of course, the enabler to make the business case for the CFO to get this thing implemented.
But this all sounds almost too good to be true. So is it all because of a good software implementation, or were there other factors involved?
No, as I said in the beginning, the software is an enabler.
Yeah.
So, and these, by the way, these figures are coming from the customer. So it's their figures, but also here we did a clear comparison prior and afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
So these were the figures prior to the implementation of our software. And of course, there's a change, there's involvement, there's HR to discuss and to improve. And these are the figures afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Great case, great result. Let's see if we covered everything. I had a question about some rules and regulations. We probably have an international crowd watching right now, so all those rules in all those countries, they are all over the place, literally. Are you able to manage all of that?
Yeah. So the truth is also that we have grown significantly over the past by really being able to support all different types of labor rules, working time directives, and all these kind of things.
Yeah, maybe France is world famous or infamous for all the labor rules that they have.
Exactly. So we have implementations, for example, in US, in France, Belgium, Netherlands, most countries of the Nordics, Germany, even down under in Australia. And everybody has its own complex rules.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a company can also have a mix. They can have multiple regulations.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we implement, we see a kind of dilemma in this rule in the policy and the other one. So how should we interpret this? So that's where we, what an important element is.
Yeah. So you, as the organization matures and becomes more international, you build your craft in managing all these rules, regulations, labor laws, individual wishes. Also, culture is probably a factor, and you're able to support all of it.
Correct.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So it's a necessity. It's a hygiene factor, of course, but it's an important one.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. I think we covered everything that we wanted to discuss. We are now a little bit more than a half hour in. So anything else you'd like to share before we close this session?
Yeah, I think during the presentation I was thinking it's of course a big step and a big change.
Yeah.
And in particular for organizations that might give resistance.
Yeah.
And therefore we really preach to do it step by step to avoid all kind of big bangs.
Okay.
So, and in the example of the optimizer, typically what we recommend or where we support companies with is first do, say, kind of technology change.
Yeah.
So move from the old way of working towards the new technology, and then over improve in various steps. For example, adding the optimizer, adding other things in order to make it and continuously improve it.
Yeah.
So our vision was also, well, maybe as a joke, that infinity sign, but also it is the way of thinking in continuous improvement.
Yeah.
So that's where we not only want to implement the software, but really want to say go hand in hand with the customer and see how can we continuously improve by learning and training people, etc.
Yeah.
And if you first do, say, the manual step, you collect, by the way, also the data about, for example, labor rule violations, what do people want, wishes, how many people do I need, in order when you go to the next step, that you have a clear measurement of the current situation, and that you really can prove the continuous improvement.
Yeah, all right. That sounds good. So thank you for those tips, because as an organization, you have quite some experience with how to manage these projects, right? So take it step by step. I'm hearing you say, also do the correct measurements so you can, measure the success rate, which also again helps you expand the program and take the next steps and continuously improve what you do for your organization and for your workforce. So thank you for your explanation today. Do you have...
maybe a good when we close off the last slide? I really want to emphasize to all the listeners and participants to think about two questions. So the first one is we started off with all these challenges and that there are some opportunities to improve, and I think that's the first important step. Is there really room for improvement, like with efficiency, improve employee engagement, with your brand loyalty as an employer, all these kind of things? Are there ways to improve? And if you think, and we see this back in all our implementation of over 300-400 customers, that there are ways. So the next step is your current workforce scheduling solution able to support this? Do they have the right technology for supporting self-scheduling using AI, with optimizers, with the app, with generative AI, cyclic rosters, everything, what it can. So, and that in the past, you see all kind of big systems which have a module for workforce scheduling, but does not have this. That you see that there we are making a lot of replacements by our technology. Because with the newest technology using API, you can very easy use a best of breed rather than say the one size big system which does it all.
So from a technology perspective, half a solution is no solution. So it's better to have a best of breed. Planning wise, the best possible planning tooling integrated with your HR tooling, your ERP, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So we are, of course, having all kind of standard interfacing with HR systems, with payroll systems, with other systems in order to have a very smooth overall process.
Okay, clear. If I'm interested in this as an organization, what is the next step for me to engage with ORTEC?
So we have the website, ortec.com, where you can find all kind of information. We also like to share information. So we have insights, blogs, white papers, complete magazine, data and analytics in the boardroom, focusing on workforce management, where we want to train and educate our world and organizations, and there are a lot of buttons if you want to have more information or request a demo. It's a very easy way to connect to our department.
Great, clear. Okay. Goos, thank you very much for your input. Everybody watching today, also thank you for your attention. And as Goos said, have a look at ortec.com to read more and to contact our team. But for now, thank you, and hopefully until next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.